Now at 9, the latest on the I-44 bridge damage and what they are doing with repairs. Plus, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks celebrates Blood Donor Day. And
Pittsburgh Community Theater is training the actors of the future. I'm Anthony Saviello with The Story.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. A man is dead after being shot by law enforcement in Dade County, Missouri. Around 10:30 this morning, authorities in Barton and Cedar counties responded to a home in rural Dade County about a stolen vehicle out of Barton County. It was found in a barn on the property. When law enforcement searched the barn, they say an armed man was inside and gunfire was exchanged. The man was shot and later died at the scene. No officers were injured. The shooting is being investigated by the Western Missouri Sheriff's Critical Incident Investigation Team. Authorities catch a man who's been wanted for about a month for thefts, property damage, and resisting arrest. Officers arrested James Hebert III in Jasper County, Missouri. Hebert's capture was a high priority for law enforcement as he was wanted for multiple crimes. Police also believe Hebert was involved in 2 recent high-speed pursuits. A damaged bridge on I-44 near Joplin is back open to traffic after MoDOT engineers deemed it structurally sound. While the bridge itself is open, the cloverleaf of ramps leading on and off of I-44 by the bridge are closed. The bridge was damaged yesterday after an oversized crane went under it on State Highway 59 and struck the bridge's girders. The girders and concrete surrounding them were damaged, but MoDOT engineers last night determined the bridge to be structurally safe and sound. However, they are repairing it.
But the areas where the worst damage was, we're trying not to, we're not allowing traffic on those. So the bridge is safe. I mean, if it wasn't, it would be a whole different ball game this morning. We would, if there was any inclination that we could not put traffic over these bridges, we would not. So we're, very confident, but we're also going to be inspecting, these bridges daily, seeing if anything changes.
The ramp cloverleaf is closed to protect workers while they complete the repairs. Chief Meteorologist joins us with the first look of the weather.
Well, it turned out to be a nice Wednesday for us today. We actually had quite a bit of clouds after some morning showers and thunderstorms across the region. Kept our temperatures down into the 70s most of the day, and then we popped up into the 80s late in the day. Normal highs 86, record high set back 1953 of a 103. We did have a few isolated little guys out there during the evening hours, but in general, most of us are fine and will stay dry as we go through the overnight hours. Ongoing severe weather across southern parts of the plains. That's been the big story weather-wise, at least throughout the daytime hours today. Temps sitting 70 to about 72, slide back into the 60s, back to 77 by 10 a.m. I actually think tomorrow we're going to start to heat up a little bit, and we're going to be dry, but thunderstorm chances tomorrow night, hot heading into the weekend, a severe threat Saturday night. We're going to break that down for you here in just a bit.
All right, we'll see you then. Today is World Blood Donor Day. In Southwest Missouri and Southeast Kansas, more than 40 hospitals depend exclusively on the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks for blood and blood products. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has details.
James Bales is a special blood donor. Regularly, he receives a message from the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks saying that he's needed.
My blood has certain antigens which align with a particular individual that needs the matching antigens and transfusions. The individual requires routine transfusions, and I get notified a week prior to, and then I set up the appointment, and they draw the blood, and the units go to Springfield, and the individual receives those units.
Bales doesn't know specifically who receives his blood and for what reason, but he's happy to help and encourage others to do so.
Well, because a ready supply is needed for any situations that may occur, whether vehicular accident, a natural disaster. Blood will be in short supply, so it needs to be stored or stockpiled, so to speak.
But most donors don't have their blood directed to a specific person.
Giving blood, for some reason, has always made me feel good, not just about giving, but also it just makes me feel physically better to give blood. If they're doing good for their community and people who've been in accidents or having surgeries or anything like that, they're needing blood, and by doing that, you're helping them out.
It takes around 200 blood donations every day to meet the needs of the hospitals in the area. Last year, almost 30,000 people sat in a chair just like this to help the cause.
We never know when we're going to need blood. You know, there's not one of us who doesn't know someone dealing with cancer or dealing with heart disease. Certainly accident victims. Those patients need blood every day in their treatments. But the other part of it is when those accidents happen, when those tragedies happen, the blood needs to be ready on the shelf, ready to go.
Reporting in Joplin, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
With just one donation, you can help as many as 3 different patients. To learn how to support the cause, go to KOAMnewsnow.com. McDonald County, Missouri leaders came together today to discuss the future of the county. The county's Chamber of Commerce hosted its inaugural State of the County Vision 2030. It featured several speakers, including mayors, a county commissioner, state representatives, and the Crowder College president. They discussed opportunities and initiatives to help the county grow.
Teamwork and vision, understanding that they live in a good place. And despite the obstacles that we know, it's time to not focus on those anymore and start focusing on things that we can do right and things that are good for us. And I think that was kind of the general gist of the overall message.
The Chamber hopes to make these State of the County luncheons a yearly event. Pitt State students will see a tuition increase in the fall. The Kansas Board of Regents approved the 5% increase for undergraduates and graduate students. For undergrads, that will come out to an extra $191 per semester, including fees. Kids at Pittsburgh Community Theater are bringing a show filled with adventure, friendship, and belonging to the big stage. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has the story.
The Pittsburgh Community Theater Junior Stars production of Space Pirates is hitting the stage. However, these pirates are more toothless than ruthless. Nevertheless, embracing their characters all the same.
I really like that everyone just calls me Captain. I think that's kind of cool.
What kind of pirate would you be?
I'd probably be the one that steals all the bread.
That steals all the bread?
Yes.
Just hoards it and doesn't give it to anyone else?
Yes.
How do you think that would make others feel?
They'd probably be like, where's my bread?
This production is part of a 2-week summer camp that is put on every year at the Pittsburgh Community Theater. Filled not only with singing and acting, but also arts and crafts and an emphasis on teamwork and friendship. An experience that not only enriches the lives of kids, but those who lead them as well.
So one of my favorite parts about this camp is that we get them as young as 6 and they stay with us through all their years up through 12. And when they age out at 12, they then can apply to be on staff starting at age 13. So a lot of my staff have not only been on staff with me for years, but they were campers themselves back in the day.
Oh man, I just like getting to interact with the kids every day. It's the reason I come back every year. You get a wide range of kids, 6 years to 12 years old, and you get to actually build a relationship within the 2 weeks and work on something together, and I think that's pretty special.
Though these kids get to act like pirates on stage, some of them may take my job one day.
What is your favorite craft you've done so far?
Since we're making the teacups right now, probably that, because it has sculpting.
That you've actually done.
I don't know.
Well, the reporting might need a little work, but the acting is on point. Reporting in Pittsburgh, I'm Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
The Junior Stars production of Space Pirates will have 2 shows on Friday, one at 6 p.m. and one at 8 p.m. Coming up, a Missouri man has died after eating an uncooked oyster. We'll have tips on making sure you stay safe. New provisional data from the CDC show that drug overdose deaths are hovering at near record levels. Those deaths are only slightly less than the record levels reached during the pandemic. The highest number of overdose deaths were reported through March of last year, with just over 110,000 deaths in a 12-month period. According to the new data, just under 110,000 people died from drug overdoses in the 12-month period ending January 2023. A drink a day could keep a heart attack away, according to a new study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. Light to moderate alcohol consumption may lead to less stress in the brain and ultimately lower heart disease risk. Researchers found women who have 1 drink per day and men who have 1 to 2 showed reduced stress signaling to the brain. A 54-year-old man has died after eating raw oysters from a seafood stand in Manchester, Missouri. Reporter Travis Cummings visited the business that sold them to him.
I can get you them. Andy can get them.
When you step into the fruit stand and seafood in Manchester,
There we go.
it feels like family.
I started in 2007, right out of high school.
Keith Rapp's shelves and coolers continue to grow.
It started off with 5 items, tomatoes, peaches, cantaloupes, the most popular Missouri homegrown items, and we pretty much just found so many new places, from local honey to Amish items.
In the last 6 or 7 years, seafood has been their biggest seller.
What's making us look for a larger store now? The seafood game is bigger than the produce game.
Their seafood and service reel in messages like this one, a loyal customer thanking them for their food and experience. Days later, that same man, just 54 years old, died after eating some of their raw oysters.
He was a good guy. 5, 10, 20-minute conversations every time he was here.
The Department of Health says he was infected by the bacteria, Vibrio bonificus. It's carried by oysters and other shellfish.
Unbelievable how this could have happened to anybody, much less a person like that.
Rapp immediately put out a message to customers alerting them about the bad batch and that they are working to figure out where exactly the oysters were harvested to stop any other potential threat.
So these here oysters all come from the Gulf Coast. They are inspected and tested.
Experts say oysters from anywhere contain the bacteria found in warm coastal waters. The biggest tip they have, cook the oysters fully to kill the bacteria. Then always wash your hands with soap and water after handling raw shellfish. And the symptoms include fever, chills, a drop in blood pressure, and skin lesions.
But yeah, I'm going to give you this one.
Rapp says they'll use this opportunity to educate their customers more.
Whether it be shrimp, lobsters, crawfish, if it's cooked, you are perfectly fine to eat it.
Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later, more than a dozen Southwest Missouri high school baseball players earn All-American honors. We'll break it all down in sports.
Ashley, this is home.
Hey, it turned out to be a nice Wednesday for us today. Some scattered showers, thunderstorms during the morning hours, a lot of clouds, some sunshine during the evening. We got partly cloudy skies out there right now. Nice shot Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Temps hovering right about 70. I think we'll drop back into lower 60s a little bit later on tonight. Outside 7th and Range Line looks good. 70 pressure, steady. Winds are pretty much calm across the area. Through the night, we drop back lower 60s. 62 is going to be our low. 77 by 10 a.m. Pretty much sunshine for us during the daytime hours tomorrow. Now, over the past couple hours, we've had a few isolated little guys. There are still a couple isolated storms just to our south, but in general, we're quiet as we go through the rest of the night. All the big time severe weather has been down to our south across the southern parts of the plains, and that's where it's going to stay as we go through the night. Now, our wave this morning rotating away, but back to the west, we have another little wave right across northern parts of Arizona. This is going to rotate out, giving us chances for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow night, and then again late Saturday into Father's Day, at least the morning. All right, let's go through time. We're going to start in the morning, lower 60s, pretty much clear skies. Partly sunny through the middle of the day. We get up into lower 80s by the noon hour. And then once we get into the afternoon, upper 80s. So 88 in Nevada, 89 in Anderson, Miami, 88, 89 in Chanute. Tomorrow night, we're going to be watching thunderstorms building to our south and to our west. Now, some of these could clip our southern counties tomorrow night, but most of this stays to our south. And then we go into Friday, we could get a random shower to start the day. And then once we get into the afternoon, a few isolated pop-up guys. But I really think most of Friday is going to end up being on the dry side. All right, day planner for you, 63 in the morning, 82 by noon, 86 by 4, high temp, 89. So a little bit hotter than what we have seen over the past couple days. But it gets interesting as we go into the weekend. So let's go into Saturday. Look at this, high temps, lower 90s. But there's a wave out to our west. Thunderstorms are going to develop. So here's 5 p.m. This is going to be well west. But those are going to be strong to severe, and then they're going to plow southeast. So I think they'll get into our western counties 7, 8, 9 p.m. Most likely strong to severe. Main threat, large hail, gusty winds. Can't rule out a couple tornadoes. This will drive through Saturday night, so into the metro 10, 11, midnight, of course, is 3 days away. And then most of this is going to be gone by the time we head into Father's Day itself. But we'll keep a chance in the morning. 89 tomorrow, 82, not 82, 88 on Friday, 92 on Saturday. Again, most of the day Friday dry, most of the day Saturday dry, and Sunday it's kind of overnight storms. And then we go into the 90s as we go into next week.
I know that next week would be the official start of summer,
Yeah,
but
Wednesday.
We've already hit 90s before, and at that point, it's, we're already there.
It's getting hot. We'll start approaching that triple-digit heat here
Yeah,
soon.
no need to get into the semantics. You hit 90s, you're into the summer. Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
Coming up, the White House is celebrating the latest inflation report. We'll see how much inflation has improved. President Biden is celebrating the latest inflation report, touting the fact that the Consumer Price Index had the smallest annual increase in over 2 years. But as Fox Business correspondent Lydia Hu reports, inflation is cooling, but it's still with us.
The White House claimed this week that inflation is falling, but what's actually happening? Inflation is still increasing, but at a slower pace. And that does not mean prices are falling, especially since inflation is cumulative. Consider how inflation is compounded year over year. Take, for example, cereal. Prices are up 9.3% over a year ago. But a year ago, prices for cereal were up 12.8% compared to 12 months before that. That means cereal prices remain more than 23% higher over 2 years ago. There's similar math for staples like butter and margarine, up 9.2% over a year ago, but up more than 29% over 2 years ago. And bread, up 12.5% over a year ago now, up more than 21% over 2 years ago. But not only are prices up, our wages are not increasing to keep up with increased prices. Inflation has outpaced wage growth going back to April 2021, just a few months after Biden took office. Economists say that is effectively a pay cut.
Most workers are, in fact, sort of worse off financially now than they were a year ago, and that is going to drain consumers' wallets. It's going to drain their savings, and ultimately, I think it will hit and harm spending.
So far, consumers continue to spend, but they're doing it on their credit cards. And there's growing concern it's not sustainable as credit card interest rates surpass 20%. Reporting from New York, Lydia Hu, Fox Business.
The cost of things before they reach your store moderated more than expected last month. Economists were expecting signs of inflation retreating in the May Producer Price Index. The PPI prices at the wholesale level declined 0.3% last month, a larger drop than forecasted. Some changes are coming to American Airlines. According to USA Today, the company is getting rid of free checked baggage on all basic economy tickets. That means there will now be a $75 fee for the first checked bag on transoceanic flights. American says this simplifies its offerings by having the same features for basic economy in both domestic and international flights. Up next, we'll learn the story behind this stunning new picture of the Mars landscape. NASA's Curiosity rover sent back a stunning postcard of what the Mars surface looks like at different times of day. The picture is actually a combination of black and white panoramas captured in the morning and afternoon. A team added color later. The blue light signifies morning and the yellows indicates the afternoon. The shadows were more pronounced in the image because the photos were taken during winter when airborne dust is closer to the surface. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. We'll learn about a push in Missouri to turn the state's elections into a ranked choice voting system. Plus,
From federal court to the campaign trail, former President Donald Trump is juggling legal woes and trying to get votes. I'm Mather Rivera in Miami with that story coming up.
There's a push to add a new voting system in Missouri. It's called ranked choice voting. Reporter Joe Hickman digs into the details of the proposed system.
In our current election system, you may have wanted to support a third-party candidate, but were worried it would split your party's vote and you would end up with an even less preferable candidate. That wouldn't happen with ranked choice voting. It lets you vote for your second, third, and fourth choices as well, and so on. And then it all comes down to the counting. Winston Apple, who is a Democrat, filed the proposal for ranked choice voting, which would get rid of primary elections in Missouri.
But if no candidate wins a majority, you start dropping candidates off, starting with the one with the least first choice votes, and then you redistribute the second choice votes for the voters that had voted for that candidate, and you just repeat that process in rounds until a candidate has 50% plus one of the votes, and then that candidate wins. The big advantage of that system, just done straight like that, is that the winning candidate has the support of a majority of voters.
He said you would likely see fewer negative campaign ads.
When you know that you may get a seat or win based on somebody's second or third choice vote, you tend not to want to attack your opponent quite so viciously.
Apple says because the two major parties wouldn't be guaranteed a candidate in a head-to-head race, it would hold the parties more accountable to voters. I spoke to Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, the state's top election official and Republican candidate for governor. He is staunchly against ranked choice voting.
I think what's really happening is that you have people that have a political objective. They are unhappy with either who's being elected or what's passing. So they're saying, let's change the rules to put a thumb down on the scale so that we can do better.
Other opponents add that the system is confusing to voters, and the time it takes to count the votes, which could be days, would lead to less confidence in elections.
State agencies predict the system, if adopted, would require a one-time cost of at least $245,000 and ongoing cost of at least $332,000 each general election year. However, with the elimination of primary elections, the agencies estimate the state would possibly save $7 million each general election year. Another candidate from Florida has entered the presidential race. Republican Miami Mayor Francis Suarez has filed paperwork to enter the contest. He's set to speak tomorrow at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, California, where it's likely he'll announce his candidacy. Suarez is just the latest to enter what is becoming an increasingly crowded pool. Former President Donald Trump facing federal charges on his 77th birthday, but he is sticking to the campaign trail. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has this story from Miami.
Legal troubles are stacking up for former President Donald Trump. If convicted on federal charges involving the alleged mishandling of classified documents, he could potentially spend the rest of his life behind bars. But the 2024 Republican frontrunner appears to be leaving the courtroom behind while he is on the campaign trail. After pleading not guilty to 37 felony counts on Tuesday, he flew to New Jersey to make his pitch to voters.
On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back our country and we will make America great again.
Trump's campaign says that fundraiser hauled in roughly $2 million. It's still unclear, though, how these historic federal charges will affect his bid for the White House.
Is this groundswell from the base that says you're being persecuted, this is a political persecution, does it translate into votes?
The 2024 election has prosecutors pushing for a speedy trial. Legal experts say the Justice Department has to follow a long-standing integrity policy.
They have a policy not to take actions that could influence election. The first election, the primary, is in February, so that would put a trial in November.
But the classified nature of the evidence could drag out proceedings, leaving some Republicans with time to weigh their options.
I'd like to see it go through the system before I make any decisions.
In the meantime, Trump is still assembling his legal team as we wait for an official trial date. In Miami, Mather Rivera, Fox News.
A grand jury has indicted a former Marine in connection with the chokehold death of a New York City man. 24-year-old Daniel Penny put Jordan Neely, a homeless man, in a chokehold on a subway train on May 1st. Several witnesses say Neely was making threats to passengers at the time of the incident. His death was ultimately ruled a homicide. A bit later, Europe taking action.
New model for the rest of the world. I'm Bill Malugin in London. Details on that story coming up.
Well, it turned out to be a nice Wednesday. So far, the evening hours have been very nice. We've had a few isolated little guys, but overall, it's turned out pretty quick. Look at our evening daylight hours. It's not even quite pitch dark yet after 9:30 as we approach the longest day of the year. Daylight, that is, of course, not hours. And then we start shrinking back toward the other direction as we head toward the winter months. Nice shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, Indigo just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, our temps right now, most of us upper 60s to mid 70s. Once you get across the northeastern parts of Oklahoma, we can go to Joplin, currently outside sitting at 70. Visibility's good, winds are good, calm, dew points at 64, and I think that's about where we're going to bottom out later on tonight, 62, 63, 64. So we'll have, we'll hit the dew point, so it'll be dewy in the morning. Pretty much clear skies. Down to 62, 63 at 7, back to 77 by the time we get to about 10 o'clock in the morning. All right, we had a few isolated guys out there earlier. This is all just ground clutter. Now, any thunderstorms are staying just to our south. So once you get into northwestern Arkansas, there's a little bit of severe weather. The bulk of the severe weather, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, throughout the daytime hours for us today, which is very atypical for the month of June. Severe weather usually shifts north, very atypical for the southern plains to get severe weather once we get into the summer months. So this little kink in the upper level winds, that caused our showers and thunderstorms today, but we got another one out toward Las Vegas. That will start to affect us as we head toward the weekend. Let's go ahead and step through time. We're going to stop at about 7 a.m., lower 60s, pretty much clear skies. I think tomorrow's going to be dry as we go through the day, lower 80s by noon. Once we get into the afternoon, heating up, 87 Stockton Lake, 89 in Anderson, Grand Lake, up to 88, Chanute 89, Coffeyville up to about 87, Pittsburgh 88 degrees. Now tomorrow night, thunderstorms drive in, but I think this is going to kind of dive southeast, so it may clip our southern counties, but I think most of us stay dry. There could be a few isolated thunderstorms Friday morning, and then again Friday afternoon, a few isolated thunderstorms could pop up across the region. But I really think Thursday's dry and a good chunk of Friday is going to be dry as well. Day planner is 63 in the morning, 82 by noon, 86 by 4. High temp near 90 for an afternoon high. Saturday gets interesting. We heat up, lower 90s, band of storms out to our west, drive in as we get into 7, 8, 9 p.m. Saturday evening. These will most likely be strong to severe. So that's what we want to watch as we head toward the weekend. 89 tomorrow, 88 on Friday, 92 on Saturday. Father's Day, morning thunderstorms, but I think the bulk of the day should be dry. High temp of 86, 87 on Monday, 90s return by Tuesday.
And then with some of that potential severe weather, you know, people download our Skywatch weather app.
Yeah, you want to have it. I mean,
for sure.
We can have severe weather any month of the year here.
And then on top of that, it'll even tell you if there's a lightning strike in your area.
Which is good.
So it's pretty cool. All right, thank you, Doug. Coming up in sports, the Joplin Outlaws try to win their second in a row. Plus, the Cardinals go to extra innings against the Giants. John Dales has those stories and more next.
Welcome into sports. I'm John Dales. The Missouri High School Baseball Coaches Association just released its all-state teams from this past season, and there's plenty of local names and faces that are featured on those lists. We start first with Class 1, the Liberal Bulldogs, who made it all the way to the quarterfinals this year. They have 7 all-state players. The first team features Peyton Morrow, who's committed to play baseball at Northwest Missouri State, along with Justin Payne. Then Chase Ray, Nate Smith, and Cole Wiles on the second team, with Caleb Coleman and Brody Wilson receiving honorable mention. Class 2 features a few different schools. Purdy's Ezekiel Garcia is a first-team infielder. His teammate Travis Hughes is on the second team along with Pierce City's Clayton Raley. Then Josh Brown, Boston Getz, both from Purdy, along with Miller's Brady Johnson, round out the list of local players receiving honorable mention. To Class 4, Aurora's Hayes Hoffman and Nevada's Case Sanderson, both on the first team. Honorable mention full of names from the 4 states. Marcus Young, Jason Garner, and Aiden Clapper, all from Monette, along with Cade Bayshore from Nevada and Aurora's Heath Hoffman. Lastly, Class 5 All-State performers, there's 3 Webb City Cardinals on there. Darnell brothers, Cy and Kaler, along with their catcher, Sean Hunt. They're all on the second team All-State. Meanwhile, the Joplin Outlaws snapped their losing skid last night with a dominant 9-3 win over Sedalia. Have a chance to make it 2 in a row tonight. Unfortunately, though, things didn't go as planned for Joplin. The Bombers get revenge from last night's blowout loss and win it 7-3. Joplin actually jumped out to an early lead in this one, but Sedalia brought 5 runs across in the 6th inning. The Outlaws had no answer after that point. Good news, though, this is the 7th and final game of their long road trip. To pro baseball, maybe you saw yesterday, it was brutal for the Cardinals. Wilson Contreras took his frustrations out on a water cooler in the midst of another loss. Today, St. Louis tries to salvage the last game of a set against the Giants. We start in the 2nd inning. Cardinals down 2-0, but the base is loaded for Tommy Edman, who gets into one to deep right field. That would get up and out of here for a grand slam. Second grand slam of his career, and he puts his team up 4-2. In the 7th inning, they're up 5-2 with a runner on second when Mike Yastrzemski goes the other way off Jordan Montgomery. That brings a run home, cuts the lead to 2. Cardinals have a chance to finish it out, though. Top 9, 2 outs, 2 strikes. Yastrzemski's up again, and he gets all of this one. Game-tying home run into the seats in right field. Cardinals fans kind of used to that pain and suffering by now. It sent it to extras where the Giants score 3 runs in the 10th inning. They go on to win it 8-5. Royals hoping to stop the bleeding as well. They lost 8 in a row entering tonight, and it looks like it's going to be 9 in a row. Things just not looking good. Reds just a couple outs away from sweeping KC. Since he designated hitter Jonathan India, he's really hurt the Royals tonight. He's got a home run, a double, and 2 RBIs. Baseball season just hasn't been kind to this area so far.
I know, and it's odd because normally the Cardinals and the Royals over the past decade have been really competitive, won World Series, and so this is kind of an outlier season to see not one, but both of the teams struggling.
Yeah, I mean, the Royals had their run there in 2014 and 15, especially for the Cardinals, though, really abnormal because even in their worst years, they're usually not bottom of the National League, and that's where they are right now.
For sure. Hopefully, fingers crossed we can see a turnaround. All right, thank you, John. We're back with more news after this. Worried about the rise of AI technology? Well, you've got plenty of company both at home and across the pond. And now lawmakers in Europe are doing something about it. Fox News correspondent Bill Mulligan has more from London.
And it is adopted. Congratulations.
European lawmakers made history on Wednesday, passing the world's first regulations on artificial intelligence. The debate taking a more urgent tone recently as AI becomes more widely used. The regulations set strict limits on what lawmakers call high-risk AI, like systems that could be used to spread misinformation, and bans AI technology that poses, quote, an unacceptable level of risk, including policing tools like biometric surveillance.
We have won in the parliament to maintain a clear safeguard to avoid any risk of mass surveillance.
The vote comes as officials around the world struggle with AI regulation of their own. President Biden has spoken repeatedly about the need to get some sort of guidance on how much technology is too much. And he says that can be done in tandem with other world leaders.
Got to work with our partners to shape and update the rules of the road. And issues like artificial intelligence, which is going to become a gigantic issue.
But in the U.S., Congress remains stalled while lawmakers in both parties struggle to come up with an acceptable framework, a task made more complicated by tech companies pouring billions of dollars into AI.
So we don't want to put forth regulation that ends up harming the progress of AI because it has tremendous benefits.
On Tuesday, senators on Capitol Hill attended the first of 3 information sessions to learn more about artificial intelligence. Reporting in London, Bill Malugin, Fox News.
Coming up, we'll check out the creative and colorful way a teacher is letting her students express themselves. One Wisconsin teacher has a classroom unlike anything you've seen before. It's covered with sticky notes, all in an effort to help her students be comfortable with who they are. Reporter Savannah Tomei has more.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we'd guess.
The wall is packed.
We're thousands and thousands and thousands.
Jennifer Doucette's classroom at Wanakee Community High School is about as colorful as it can get. She's taking the notes down to organize by color.
And I can't wait to see them all together.
All of these sticky notes are written by her students. It started in 2016. The kids would leave her Post-its, and then she had an idea.
At the end of every classroom, I'll ask a question and students will write like this brilliant one-liner.
Quickly, students took over asking the questions.
The smell of Barnes & Noble, the question must have been, what's your favorite smell? I had one on the first day of school that said, what color does today feel like?
They can be silly, but they can also make an impact in a time where at least a third of high school students experience mental health challenges, according to the CDC. Devin Behan is a junior.
You can become or put out some of your more vulnerable thoughts and not really worry about people seeing them, even though you're still putting it out to be seen because, everything's everywhere.
I'll have this note forever.
She has tons of Post-its of students saying thank you, but this is her favorite.
This was a student who really was struggling with her mental health and came back after getting a lot of help and left me a really neat note. This note I treasure. I will keep this note forever.
Something as simple as a sticky note can help teens feel seen.
It's still out and it's here.
I hope that it just lets them know that they matter.
Giving them space to be themselves.
That's awesome. And that's our time for tonight, and thank you all so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with a video of a volcano eruption in Hawaii. Be safe, and we'll do this all again tomorrow. See you then.